Hello everybody, Ashley here. I will be presenting on Richard Strauss, who lived from 1864 to 1949. Alright, a little bit of background information. Richard Strauss was born in Munich, Germany on June 11th, 1864. His father's name was Franz Strauss, and his father was the principal horn player for the Munich Court Orchestra, and was recognized as Germany's leading virtuoso of the instrument at the time. Because Richard Strauss sat in on lots of his father's rehearsals, his father was obviously a very strong influence for Richard musically. He began piano lessons at age 4, violin lessons at age 8, and come 1882, by the time he left school, Strauss had already composed over 140 works. And just to do that math for you, he was only 18 when he had composed 140 works. An interesting quote with some interesting facts in there from biography.com. It says, Hitler was a strong supporter of Strauss's work, and he was allowed to continue performing even while the works of Debussy, Mahler, and Mendelssohn were being banned during the Nazi regime. Some random facts. Richard Strauss was the most famous of the post-Romantic composers. He was also a celebrated conductor, and he is recognized as the dominant figure of German music during the first part of the 20th century. He was not heavily recognized for his lieder, piano pieces, chamber works, or choral works. However, he is most well known for his symphonic poems and operas. Symphonic poems are separated into two types of programs: philosophical and descriptive. Philosophical symphonic poems have general ideas and emotions, and there's no particular storyline or incidents. Descriptive symphonic poems, on the other hand, the composer must attempt to illustrate with the music non-musical events or a storyline. However, back to symphonic poems before I move on. Those two program types aren't necessarily always completely separate. For example, philosophical programs often include descriptive elements and vice versa. All right, Don Quixote, which was composed in 1897, was Richard Strauss's most famous symphonic poem. All right, after a prologue that is virtually a mini symphonic poem, there are two sections. The first one being Don Quixote, the Knight of the Sorrowful Countenance. This section is in D minor. It features a solo cello and some interesting things happening in there. Blades creaking are represented by the collegno in the strings, and a downward arpeggiation by thirds represents Don Quixote being knocked off of his horse. The second section of Don Quixote is Sancho Panza. This section is in F major. It features a bass clarinet and sometimes a bass tuba. And in this section, Don Quixote tries to be bold and heroic, and this is represented in the strings. The winds mock Don Quixote with the transformation of the Sancho theme, and flutter-tonguing represents the bleating of the sheep. All right, Strauss composed a few operas from the end of the 19th century to the beginning of the 20th, but none of them were too successful until 1905 when he came out with this one, Salome. He felt the need to supplement the language of music with text, and so this opera tells the story of Salome, who is the daughter of Herodias, who seduces her stepfather/uncle Herod, governor of Judea, with a lustful dance. In return, Herod offers her the head of John the Baptist. This ended up to be possibly Strauss's most advanced piece of music. Specifically, the last scene is the most harmonically advanced of his works. This opera was described as thunder, noise, and a cacophony of sounds that the audience had never heard before. It's an extremely complex arrangement with 49 instrument and voice parts. There's a lot of dissonance and bitonality, as well as many effects created by the orchestra, and these effects were used to express feelings all the way from terror to infatuation. All right, we will talk more and listen to some of his music tomorrow in class. Thanks, you guys.